Hey guys, so our first question is from Casey, and she was saying that she has a bookkeeping client, yay, but she thought it might be a little bit above her expertise because they have multiple properties and it's a little more complex than she was expecting. So I am a firm believer that we can learn anything, right? But I do also think we need to be responsible for people's books. We don't want to just like take on something that's super overwhelming. So I think in this case, she probably should pass on that complex client, or maybe she can partner with another bookkeeper with more experience to kind of like work under them until she's comfortable taking it over. So this is a little bit of a personality call. Like, do you want to like work really hard and learn all this stuff and maybe be a little bit unsure of yourself? But most of the time we can kind of like feel it in our gut if it's not going to be the right fit for us at that time. And it sounds like Casey is feeling that it's not going to be a good fit. Next question is from Amber. She was asking, what do I do with check stubs? Because in this video that she watched, I was entering checks into QuickBooks based on the check stubs, and I really try to keep nothing in my office. I just have this one little closet right here, and I just reorganized it. So it's super organized with none of my clients' files. And that is my preference on how I personally run my bookkeeping business. I don't keep paper files of any of my clients. And I mean, if this was like a deal breaker with a client that I really wanted to work with, I might be able to come up with a solution, find a place to store stuff. But generally, I try not to as much as possible. I have a video called Paperless Bookkeeper. The thumbnail looks like that you can watch after this if you'd like. And this question is from Liv. She asks about her client's bank account that keeps disconnecting in QuickBooks Online. And I've actually heard this from a couple people recently. I'm not sure what triggers it to disconnect, but usually it's definitely if you change your password for your bank login, or I think sometimes if the bank does security updates. So it's going to depend a lot on what bank you're using. I've heard that credit unions maybe disconnect a little more, and I have kind of found like that the bigger banks don't disconnect as often in QuickBooks. And it is a bit of a pain, but really you should just be able to re-put in your password and then click update and it'll reconnect. I will say make sure you have your own bank login that can connect to QuickBooks for your client, because if you don't have the password or you're not the one who hooked up the connection, it's gonna like require you to contact your client, have them go into QuickBooks login, which would be a lot of steps and probably a pain for everyone. So whenever possible, definitely set it up with you being the one who's able to put in the password in QuickBooks. All right, give this video a thumbs up if you're excited for all of the Q&A upcoming, and I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. My name's Morgan. My website is FinePoints.biz. All right, this question is from his child, and they're asking, this was specifically about the QuickBooks, the free online QuickBooks ProAdvisor certification that I recommend for people getting started as bookkeepers. And he's talking about how there's like all these videos. He says there's like over 30 training videos, and does he have to watch every one? I would say no. And I think there was a similar question about another training. Maybe it was like Bookkeeper Launch. Do I have to watch every single training and every single thing? No, you don't have to, especially if you already have some background QuickBooks knowledge. I'm a big fan of listening to things on like times 0.5 or times 2 to get it done a little faster. And if you're trying to pass that free certification, I'll leave a link in the description box below. Margie has a class that helps you pass. It kind of gives you like Cliff Notes versions of what you need to know to pass the test. Her business is called Fast and Easy QBO. And I think I have a discount code you can use too. It'll all be in the description box. And within this question, he also talked about QuickBooks Desktop versus QuickBooks Online. I have some other videos you can search on my channel about this topic, but I also started on QuickBooks Desktop. It gives you like a good overview if you're also trying to learn QuickBooks Online. They are different, but not so different that you can't switch over. All right, and this is from Victory. Her client started her business 2 years ago and hasn't had anything in QuickBooks yet, I believe. So she's asking, how do I start with this client? And then she doesn't know about their equity as well. So yeah, I would basically just start by reconciling their bank accounts. Figure out what bank accounts they're using. If they have a checking, savings, or a credit card, connect those to their QuickBooks Online and start feeding in transactions for the past 2 years. You can talk to them and see if they want to prioritize the current year depending on if they've filed taxes. But it sounds like in this case, they probably haven't filed taxes for the last 2 years. And I give a little more detail about all of that. In terms of equity, I'm guessing that she is trying to figure out like, what did the owner invest in the business when it first got started? Oh, I actually have a video on that too. So the thumbnail looks like that. You can check out that. But basically, you're probably just gonna have to ask your client, you know, did you put like $500 of your own information into like or of your own bank account into like buying computers and like startup costs for your business. Hopefully they have maybe some records of that. And then any owner's draws are also going to be equity, so money that they took out of the business. So that should feed in through their business bank accounts. All right, and this question is from Heather about niches. So she wants to know, should I start right away with my niche, or should I kind of like figure it out as I go along and wait to specialize later? In my opinion, the sooner you can pick a niche, the better, because you're really going to be able to specialize your marketing and make your life easy, make your client's life easier. You know, you can charge higher rates and you don't have to learn as wide a variety of things. You can kind of specialize. But that being said, you might not know what you want your niche to be right away, and that's fine, that's normal. I had no idea at first either. So it was good for me to kind of like try out a few different clients, be like, oh, I like this, but I don't like this as much. So don't feel bad if you can't niche down right away. But if you already know what you want to specialize in, then I wouldn't hesitate. And a clue for that is especially if you have experience in some industry. So I've said this many times about like if you were a real estate agent and then you switch to become a bookkeeper, be a bookkeeper for real estate agents because you already know people in that field and you already have information, like insider information about what they need. All right, this is Philip and he has a question about business structure. He says, can I start as a sole proprietor and then switch to an LLC, a limited liability company? Yes, you totally can. You can switch your business structure by filing a form with the IRS. I'm not sure. I think there might be some like limits to it, like you can't like constantly be switching your business type. But overall, people definitely do this, and so don't feel like whatever business structure you started, you're stuck with. This question is from Will Land, and he was asking, when do my clients expect their books to be done, like each month? And then he has another piece I'll talk about in just a second, but basically the deadline I tell my clients is the 10th of the month. Your books, you'll get all of your reporting. So like on February 10th, they are going to have their finished January books. And usually I try to get it done a little bit sooner. The 10th does give me a little bit of a buffer if there's weekends. And then also sometimes you have to wait a little bit for the bank statement to come out from the bank. Like it doesn't always come out like exactly on the 1st, it might be on the 3rd or something. And if I'm working in multiple clients, I might not be able to get everyone done, you know, all super in one day. So the 10th is what I tell my clients, and usually I try to do it around the 5th or so. And he was also asking about paper checks because there's like a delay. If you write a check, it's not always cashed right away. And this isn't really a problem for reconciling and sending reports because how checks work is I put in all the January checks in January and then the date stays in January. And then even if someone cashes it like February 15th, like after I've already sent the reports, that expense still shows up in January because that's the point of putting in the paper checks ahead of time in QuickBooks is that like the rent check, I want there to be one each month, not like sporadically depending on when they cash their check. I want it to be a January, February, March, April, May. So that's why I put in the paper check. So it doesn't affect when I'm giving reports to my clients or when I'm like finishing their books for the month. This question is from Salma. She's asking, am I a good fit to be a bookkeeper? She's wondering if her skill set works with bookkeeping. So this is like kind of her self-assessment. She says, I'm not very good at math, but I'm very organized. I have good communication skills. I like doing things on time, and she's not very techie. All right, so here are my opinions about this. I think she could be successful as a bookkeeper for sure. So not being good at math, I think is fine. Math was definitely not my favorite subject in school, and you don't need to like know a lot of advanced math, computations, all this stuff to be a bookkeeper because QuickBooks is really doing the math for you. You do need to have a comfort with numbers, and if you like mix around, if you like invert numbers a lot, that might be a challenge for you as a bookkeeper. I would not say you have to be like a math whiz. The other things you mentioned I think are even more important. So being super organized, being very reliable, and being a good communicator, those things are gonna really help you be successful as a bookkeeper. And then not being a techie person, this one I'm a little on the fence about because I have found that I come across a lot of technology as a bookkeeper and I'm constantly like having to figure things out. So I think if you're willing to like do some research and figure stuff out, you'll be fine. As a bookkeeper, you have so much flexibility too. Like you can set up your bookkeeping business how you want. You can use QuickBooks Desktop if you want, and then there'll be less technology. You can work with businesses that maybe aren't as on the cutting edge of using all these like techie programs. So I don't know exactly what degree of like not techie she is. Like, no, you don't have to be like coding websites and like hacking into computers and stuff, but you have to be willing to figure stuff out when you need to. And this question is, if you are paid through your client's payroll system, their payroll process, do they need to issue a 1099 for you? The answer is yes, they do, because you are working as a contractor for them, so they need to give you a 1099. You can check out my video all about 1099s right here. I am paid through Gusto a lot, and Gusto actually automatically creates 1099s, so the client doesn't even have to. I can just log in and grab my 1099 from the Gusto website. So I hope that was helpful. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up because that really does help me out a lot. I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.